Welcome to the next episode of the CyberShift podcast, where we help business leaders stay ahead of the curve in technology, cybersecurity, and IT strategy.
Today, we're really digging into something critical, often overlooked, actually. The vulnerability inherent in the new hire onboarding process.
Absolutely. You know, when someone new joins, we tend to focus on, well, the logistics, right?
Right. Did they get their laptop?
Is their email working? Have they met the team? Check, check, check.
But what we're discussing today is how that purely logistical focus can mask a pretty significant cybersecurity risk.
It really can. We have to recognize that a new team member, totally unintentionally, can become, well, a prime target, a vector for threats.
And our research points to something quite startling. For most businesses, those first 90 days, that's one of the absolute most vulnerable periods for cybersecurity.
90 days, that's quite a window.
It is, and it's predictable. Attackers anticipate it, they target it. If you're scaling your business, maybe right here in Northeast Ohio, this is a risk you just can't ignore.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. Why does that standard, logistics-first onboarding create such a perfect storm for hackers? You'd think a new person, limited access maybe, would be lower risk.
It seems logical, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the reality, it's driven more by human psychology and timing. We found a statistic that really frames this starkly.
Okay.
New employees are a massive state. 71% more likely to fall victim to phishing or social engineering attacks within their first 3 months.
71%. Wow, that's not random noise.
Not at all. It's predictable behavior. Cybercriminals are literally banking on it.
So what are the specific sort of human elements that make new hires so susceptible?
Or it boils down to a few key things attackers aggressively exploit. First off, just basic unfamiliarity. Meaning they don't yet know the company's normal communication patterns. What does a real internal memo look like? What system is actually used for approvals versus, say, HR updates?
Okay. So if an email looks slightly off, they don't have that baseline, that internal context to spot the fake. They haven't seen enough real stuff yet.
Precisely. And the second factor, it's that eagerness to perform.
Right. Everyone wants to make a good impression fast.
Exactly. They want to show they're productive, they're quick learners, so they tend to prioritize action, maybe rush through requests, especially if they seem urgent or look like they're coming from management.
I can totally see that. You get a message, looks official, says urgent action needed. Your instinct isn't necessarily to pause and question it, is it? Especially early on. You don't want to bother your new boss.
You definitely don't want to look slow or like you're questioning simple instructions. And that ties into the final piece. Often, cybersecurity training is minimal, or it's delayed, it's generalized.
So they get the laptop, the access.
Right. And then maybe weeks later, they get slotted into the standard security awareness module. But that gap, that's the danger zone. That's when attackers make their move.
Okay, so that mix, the unfamiliarity, the eagerness, the training gap, that really is a potent combination for attackers.
It's a gold mine for them. And the data gets even more specific when we look at how they click, what they trust.
Right. This is where the stats get really telling about the specific tactics used in social engineering against new folks.
Let's start with clicking on bad links. Our data shows new employees are 44% more likely to click malicious links than established staff.
44% more likely. And that's not about being tech savvy necessarily, is it?
Not really. It's more about situational awareness, familiarity with the tools.
You can picture it, right? A new person, maybe Sarah in marketing, she's juggling setting up 5 different platforms in her first week. She gets a pop-up. Project management tool needs authentication update. Click here.
And she clicks. Of course she does. Her goal is getting set up, getting productive, not scrutinizing every single URL when everything is new.
Makes sense. And then there's the hierarchy aspect.
Yes, that's another big one. New employees, they're 45% more likely to trust fake messages that seem to come from executives.
45%. That really underscores the power of impersonation attacks. These aren't just generic spam, they're targeted. They prey on that natural deference to authority a new hire feels.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's take a scenario we see variations of all the time in our threat reports. Imagine Mark, new sales rep, second week on the job. Tuesday morning, an urgent email lands.
Okay.
It looks like it's straight from the CEO, a name he's only seen on an org chart. The email says something like, Mark, need you to handle an urgent wire transfer for an acquisition. Top priority, instructions attached. Use your new credentials to approve the payment now.
And Mark has no idea what the CEO's real communication style is. He doesn't know the CEO would never ask a new sales rep to handle a wire transfer via some random attachment.
Exactly. The pressure, the perceived importance, the urgency it overrides any nascent caution. He clicks the link, maybe enters credentials into a convincing-looking fake portal.
And boom, credentials stolen, or worse, actual funds transferred.
Precisely. Or think about a new admin assistant. They get an email directing them to update their HR details via a link. It looks plausible because, well, they haven't successfully logged into the real HR portal yet.
So they're compromised before they even know what the legitimate login page looks like.
That's the risk. So the core insight here is pretty clear. Cybercriminals are actively exploiting that initial phase of confusion, eagerness, and unfamiliarity.
And because security training often lags behind day one logistics, it works far too often.
It does. But here's the good news, and this is what we really want every business leader listening today to take away. This risk is entirely manageable. We don't have to just accept this 90-day vulnerability window.
Okay, good. So how do we fix it?
By making cybersecurity an integral part of the onboarding experience itself. Treat it as a core business priority from the get-go, not an HR add-on later.
So what are the actionable steps? What can businesses, maybe those growing quickly right here in Cantan or Akron, actually do to make their next hire part of the defense, not a vulnerability?
Okay, we've boiled down our research into 5 essential steps for smarter, safer onboarding. Step 1 has to be immediate and targeted. Day 1, cybersecurity training.
Day 1, so not week 3, not month 2.
Day 1. Morning one, ideally. And it can't be some generic hour-long video they half-watch.
It needs to be focused, right? Practical.
Exactly. Crisp, clear guidance on spotting the most common red flags phishing emails, those urgent CEO-style requests. Crucially, they need to know exactly how and where to report something suspicious safely. It sets the expectation immediately. Security is part of the job.
Okay, day 1 training sets the baseline. What's next to make it stick?
That leads to step 2, which turns knowledge into habit. Simulated phishing attacks, early and often.
Now, some people hear phishing test and think it's about tricking employees, catching them out.
And that's the wrong mindset. These aren't gotcha tests. They're incredibly effective hands-on training tools. We recommend running the first simulation quite early, maybe within the first couple of weeks.
So they get to apply the day 1 training quickly.
Precisely. It lets them experience a realistic scenario, make a choice, and if they click, they fail safely. They get immediate feedback and reinforcement of the training, but without any actual risk to the business. It makes the lesson concrete.
Right. It becomes about practice, not punishment. Okay, that covers clicking links. What about those impersonation emails? That leads into step 3.
Step 3 directly addresses that 45% vulnerability stat. Clearly define communication norms.
You mean spell it out for them?
Explicitly. Educate new hires on what legitimate internal communication actually looks like. What's the official email domain? Which specific software is used for financial requests? What's the normal chain of command for approvals?
And just as importantly,
define what legitimate requests will never include. Things like asking for passwords via email, demanding an urgent, unverified wire transfer to an unknown account.
just knowing what not to expect, that alone could stop a major incident.
Absolutely. Now, moving to the technical controls, step 4 is about damage limitation if an attacker does get through. Use role-based access controls, RBAC.
Explain RBAC quickly and why it's so key for new hires. If, say, Mark the sales rep's account does get compromised.
RBAC limits the blast radius. It operates on the principle of least privilege. Mark, the sales rep, should only have access to the systems essential for his job. Maybe the CRM, the sales document folders.
Not the entire company finance database or HR records.
Exactly. So if his account is compromised, the attacker's access is restricted to only what Mark could see. They can't easily move laterally through the network or access highly sensitive data outside his role. It's about containing the potential damage. Security by default, really.
Okay, makes sense. That brings us to step 5. This one feels crucial, but maybe the hardest to implement, the culture piece.
It often is, but it's arguably the most valuable long-term protection. Step 5. Make cybersecurity everyone's job by fostering a supportive culture.
Meaning,
we need to create an environment where new employees feel genuinely safe, encouraged, even to pause, to double-check, to ask questions, especially in those critical first few weeks.
They shouldn't feel embarrassed to verify an odd request with their manager or IT, right?
Absolutely not. They should be praised for being cautious, for reporting something that feels off, even if it turns out to be legitimate. That caution is exactly what you want.
That cultural shift, it really transforms the new hire from a potential weak link into an active part of your defense.
It does. And the payoff is real. Businesses that implement these kinds of integrated proactive steps, they see a measurable 30% reduction in phishing risk among their new hires.
30%, that's a significant improvement.
It's a huge return, especially when you weigh the small cost of structured day-one training and simulations against the potentially massive cost of just one successful breach.
So let's bring it back to the business leaders listening. The takeaway seems clear. You simply can't afford to leave security to chance during onboarding, especially if you're growing.
Security needs to be woven into the fabric of onboarding. Natural, expected, positive right from day one.
Your business really does deserve that integrated security from the moment that welcome email goes out.
And that's where we at CyberShift Technologies come in. We specialize in helping small and mid-sized businesses design these smarter onboarding processes that protect you against these very social engineering threats right from the start.
We offer those tailored services you need. Employee security awareness training specifically designed to tackle that 90-day risk window, ongoing phishing simulations to keep skills sharp, plus the essential tech controls.
Things like managed endpoint protection, robust firewalls, and expert help setting up and monitoring role-based access controls for every new team member.
And we're right here, committed to businesses across North Canton, Akron, and all of greater Northeast Ohio. We want to ensure you have the protection needed to scale securely.
So don't let your next great hire accidentally become your next security incident.
As you think about your own hiring plans, maybe consider this final thought. What's the potential cost of not properly training that new hire on security from day one? Think about the data breach impact, the recovery time, maybe even fines.
Compare that to the relatively small proactive investment in making integrated security awareness a fundamental part of how you grow your team.
Let's work together to secure your team from day one.
Thank you for joining us on the CyberShift podcast.
We encourage you to reach out to CyberShift Technologies today. Let's talk about how we can help your team stay productive and, most importantly, secure. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Cybershift podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to stay up to date on all things Cybershift Technologies, make sure to subscribe to our podcast and join the newsletter on cybershift.com. Have a great